TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Transformations with Tara Sutphen. Tara Sutphen is the author of Blame It on Your Past Lives, Soul Agreements, and The Abenda Chronicles. Grammy-nominated audios, videos, and MP3 series. You can find these MP3 series now at tarainsight.com.
Welcome to Transformations with Tara. And today, our topic, Jason and mine, because Jason is our wonderful guest today.
Hello.
And
good morning.
Co-host, yes, he is the voice of over 1 million recordings sold of Om. And thank you for being on the show, Jason, today.
Thank you for inviting me. And
Yeah.
I kind of like the, we usually cheer each other there with our coffee, or in my case, it's tea. We might both have tea actually, but how we cheer each other there as the intro is going on.
Yeah,
it's always
mine
fun.
is a cute little otter cup. Yeah. Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about self-talk and how we talk to ourselves negatively or positively. And it's very important. You know, with this new moon, it's set at 19 degrees Gemini, and it was all about that we need to champion ourselves and we need to champion others. I mean, that's the big deal. So for the next month, you should make it a point to champion yourself and others through your speech, through your speaking abilities, your communication skills, your expressions. It's very important. Yeah, that we do this for ourselves and for others. You know, so many people are so broken, and it's from, you know, not taking the time to, you know, self-care. And self-care starts with when you look in the mirror, you say, oh gosh, I love that color pink. It has nothing to do with anything else. You know, your skin looks so shiny, lovely today. Yeah.
I don't think I say that to myself about the color, as far as like, pink is usually not what I'm wearing.
Yeah, guys. Well, guys probably don't maybe do that, but still look at your beard, you know, it's a life of its own.
Right? It's like, oh my God. Well, usually it's like kind of like, it does have a life of its own, you know, it's like, it's like this wild beast there. It's like it needs to be tamed every morning. It's like this victorious lion. That's what I say, you know. It's like, hello, good morning, victorious lion. You know, that's my positive self-talk in the morning.
There you go. There you go. See?
It's like, how are you today? Oh, good boy, good boy.
You dogs have to wait. The beard gets it first.
Right? Yeah, it's that can be a difficult time depending on the personality, right? It's like, am I a morning person that it's like you wake up and it's like, oh yeah, good morning day, you know, greet the day, or is it like, oh, you know, you're still kind of waking up, but when you allow, you know, just you to just take a look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm alive again. How did that happen? You know, this is great. I got another chance, you know. And to then start, you know, with a positive phrase. You know, so some people will have a phrase that's taped to their bathroom mirror. You know, that's a positive reminder, you know, just to start that process of giving yourself it can be just like a pep talk, right, in the morning. It's like you can be your own best coach in that.
Right. It's better than a list of things to do first thing in the morning, because a list of things to do can sometimes overwhelm you if you haven't had a moment to kind of wake up and relax. You know, if you're doing meditation, if you're just, and you know, a lot of people just kind of get up and rush off to work. But the bottom line is that, you know, if you can get up and just have a moment, you know, so you ought to wake up a little earlier. And, you know, we're all kind of like groggy at the first moment you wake up. But if you can just make yourself get up and, you know, enjoy a few minutes, then that helps a lot too with any sort of depression or feeling like your life is out of control.
Yeah, I like like my routine. It involves like a cup of tea in the morning. You know, maybe some
Yes.
water first, and then some tea. But it can be juice. It can be you know, coffee. It can be whatever. You know, it's just like it is on your you know, what works for you. But it's like a time that you can just kind of center, and you can you know, you don't have to dive into your emails just like right out of the gate. You can just kind of, you know, enjoy the sounds of the morning, or you know, and that's if you have that schedule. You know, not everyone has that schedule of, you know, waking up in the morning and all that. Some people work late at night, you know, or overnight.
Right.
But whenever it is that you can just kind of collect yourself and start the process of you know, because I see it as planting seeds within ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we plant those seeds of positivity, that's the crop that's going to come up. You know, if we start getting
Right.
down on ourselves, like you know, early on, it's like that's what comes up too.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Whereas, yeah, I just know that, like I'm at my sister's house now. Jason was here earlier in the week, but I put him on a train, and
It's
it
like,
was a really beautiful
go
thing.
out, leave
Yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah. But it's just so beautiful as far as like the animals around. You know, she has a baby goat now. Somebody dropped off a baby goat the last few days, and you know, to go with our other goat and who we love. And then
And the
there's
kittens.
all the horses and all the kittens,
Oh my God.
And now we're picking them up. We're picking them up and yeah, petting them all the time. They're so cute. Getting them tamed and ready to go to new homes. And their mommy is a Siamese. She's beautiful. If
Yeah.
anybody wants it, and there's 5. They're so beautiful. Beautiful kittens. Love them. Yeah.
Yeah, those kittens, you know, there's something about puppies and kittens, you know, when they're that size and all. It's like, oh, it's hard to resist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just really cute. I've been thinking about bringing you the gray one.
Nope.
Baron von Gluckhausen. He used to have this cat called Baron von Gluckhausen. Loved him. Gray cat. I took the black one. He took the gray one.
Yes, Baron von Gluckhausen, the Baron from the House of Luck, of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Gluck, happiness there in German. It's a little difficult where we're at as far as
Yeah, no,
for
I realize
cats.
that. The
So,
road is too terrible for you.
so
to travel.
resist that temptation,
I know, I resisted.
bringing the cat.
I was thinking of the child, the kitten. I was
Right.
would have a great life with you, of course.
Well, the dogs would love, you know, the dogs, they love cats, you know, as far as they're curious about them, because they've never really been around them. And so they're very, you know, they would get along great if the cat allowed it.
Yeah.
Something about the cat and the claws and all that, you know, if they start young, they're fine. But some cats just don't put up with it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, are there any phrases that are favorites of yours?
Well, you know, it's funny. I have that I walk a beautiful life. That's number one, that I say that. You know, Marla and I were talking once, and I said, you know, we walk a beautiful life. And so that all became many years ago, like 20 years ago or so. And then, and I'm always giving a lot of like, you know, reactivation, life force. You know, it's all about reactivation and activation. And one of my sayings is, there is no confusion. You are a clear thinking human. there's no confusion. But I have tons of these. I do. One that really I coined in the early 2000s, that's now a really big from my teenagers because it kind of went out, was about there is rejection is my protection. So
Repeat that.
any sort of rejection is
Repeat that phrase.
rejection is your protection. Rejection is your protection. Because any sort of shamanic sign that you're being kind of cast back away from something is usually, you need to look at it. It needs to, be a, something to cast away. Like, don't hold on to things that are not good for you, that have no meaning for you, that people, bad people, bad situations, bad events, you're going round and round, any sort of bad habits, let it all go and create the life that you want to live. Life is creating an illusion anyway. We create our reality. So the people we surround ourselves with, the situations we surround ourselves with, our work, and I just love, I have felt that my career, and I know Jason, brought his career up as far as from being behind the scenes to now being in a helping position in the world. I think that, it's about helping others. And I think that everybody needs to have their hand held, and everybody needs a leg up, period. Everyone, no matter how much money you have, how much, you think you have self-esteem, whatever it is, everybody needs help, everyone. Yeah. And so if that's a kind word, that positive self-talk where it starts with you first, and then you do it, give positive reinforcement to others, that it's a good thing. Because, people carry things all their life that their parents said that they couldn't do. You weren't good enough, you can't do it, you're horrible, you're whatever it is, people say weird things. It's just a weird, dynamic that comes up where people project onto other people their idiosyncrasies or their complete and utter, dysfunction. So that's the thing, is you don't really listen to that. So I was talking to Audrey this morning, my niece.
Whose niece?
Mine. Our niece. And she is, Jason and I, brother and sister. Anyway, Audrey is so incredibly talented. This is somebody who I used to put her on Lyrica when she was little, and Lyrica is getting old now. One of my horses, both my horses are getting older, but when she was little, I would put her on Lyrica, and they all, the picture of the three of them on Lyrica, Lyrica loved them and they loved Lyrica. And so, and Lyrica I had professionally trained for many years. So Lyrica was just as good as gold with everyone. I couldn't put like mom on her, or anybody else. That's why I bought Bella, because Bella is from Argentina, and everybody could ride Bella. Even when Audrey was 3 years old, I could put her on Bella. And Bella was the greatest athlete. She wasn't a stodgy, icky horse at all. She was an incredible athlete, but she had the steady mind of, I put a baby on her back and she was conscious of it. Like, okay, I'll just take care of her. And so, but, it probably got to where is Audrey easy riding that horse. So anyway, she was saying, so she was conditioned, we conditioned her early to like horses and stuff. And good horses, and good horses, I mean, worked with horses, because horses by nature are kind. They are. They're all kind. I mean, people don't really see that. They're afraid of them, but but they're big teddy bears really once you're around them. You know, they want you in their herd, and they're all about giving to you. They give you much more than you give to them usually. And so the thing is that with her, I was saying, what's your personal self-talk? Because I was all of a sudden really interested, because she's not only been a California champion, and the only reason she probably isn't a national champion is because she had the flu that day on the California finals. And so she wasn't up to par as she normally is. And then I was saying, and then she's a gymnastics champion as well. And she was with a gold medalist. That was her teacher and coach for years. And so she's an absolutely beautiful, incredible, gymnast. And she teaches all the kids now to be as well. She's a coach. So she was saying that for her, it was all about having fun. That when she got into any sort of where she was competing, it wasn't about winning. It was only about not being nervous. So she would calm herself and say, you got this. You can do it. It's going to be easy. The horse is great. I'm strong enough for it. Those sort of reinforcement. And so it's just having fun. She just wanted, she thought it was fun to race around and do gymnastics, race around. She was always, jumping around. So she had that core strength. So when she did ride horses, I like this story of her because it's so funny. She was going out for one of these barrel races where you win money, and the prizes are saddles. And there was only a couple saddles that they were giving away, but she was going out, and she hadn't ridden in a couple of years. She hadn't been on the circuit. After the California championship, she went fully into gymnastics. And so she hadn't been on the circuit, and all of a sudden she said, well, I can ride. And she didn't have a horse anymore. She had Shannon's horse, Doxy, who's a Doc Barmare, who's an incredible athlete. And so she practiced on her maybe 6 times, maybe more, over 2 months, just, getting her up and out of there. And then she took her somewhere so that she could run her out a little bit. And then on that, I think it's the Saturday. So she came in on the Saturday. She made super great time. But she hadn't ridden, remember, in a couple of years. And so she came in, and then the next day, Amy didn't get to see, there was too many moms and too many people up looking at the board. And so she didn't get to see the board to see if Audrey had placed. And somebody said, oh, Audrey came in 12th, because that's what she told everybody to tell. If my mom hasn't seen the board, she's just going to be happily surprised. So she came in 12th. So the winner is called for the saddle, and it's Audrey. She wins the saddle.
So she wasn't 12th.
No, she was first. Anyway, but she just wanted her mom to be super excited and happy. Yeah. So it was just fun. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, but I said, what got you even on the horse again? And she just said that self-talk. I can do it. I can do it. It's going to be fun. I'm not going to be nervous. If I place, I place, and if I don't, I've just had fun.
Right. It's like the expectations that we can place on ourselves, right? That can.
We have to be first on everything. Yeah.
I mean, they can look to just put us in, where they freeze us up, right? Because it's like, oh, I have to do this, and I have to win, or I have to be perfect, or whatever. It's like, it's like, I remember, like, back in the old days when I would like play live, when I play live music, with bandmates and all. And yeah, it's like you rehearse the songs, you practice them, and it's like you want to you don't want to disturb the flow of a song, right? It's like, most of the activities that we do in life, there's a certain flow to it. And and for the the professional, right, it's like they have a way of just, they could make a bunch of mistakes, but the person watching or wouldn't even notice. The professional might be going, oh, I can't believe I screwed that up, and the person watching is just going, that was amazing. you know uh there's a certain like flow that one can be in. And with if it's riding horses and doing all that, it's like you're I'm lucky just to be able to stay on a horse, if it starts running. If I'm to stay on it, then I've succeeded. Much less like do any tricks or
Right.
barrel racing or anything like that. But with like music, it's like, you can hit some notes that are like, oh, I didn't do that good, or whatever. But you can just kind of keep muscling through it, just keep going,
Mhm.
and be in the flow of what it is that you hopefully enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, then I mean, that's something to look at, something to really um make a question it, because we're all connected. It's all integrative as far as um our spirit, our soul, our purpose. If we're being purposeful, if we feel like we're living a meaningful life, it's like if we're doing something to recharge ourselves, like a fun activity, something that is just fun for us, that's like it feeds our being. It can
Yeah.
add to either a calmness of spirit. It can add to where it just brings us joy, and
Yeah.
that is for the continuity of our beings, so that we're happy, healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
S-
It's true.
so
So, I talking about not enjoying something, Jocelyn, uh, Audrey's great best friend. They went up camping to Yosemite this last weekend, and it was really interesting. They decided I mean, I guess it's a area where you can jump off of a huge rock, probably a couple stories up, and jump into a big deep pool. So I was asking, so Jocelyn did it and said, well, did you enjoy it? Will you do it again? She goes, never. I didn't enjoy it at the time. So whereas everybody was like, yeah. And it reminded me of the Lake Arrowhead one, because we had one in Lake Arrowhead, the same thing. Like, oh God, it used to be just, my God, if I have to call an ambulance for somebody, I'm gonna be upset that they're ruining my hike, But because it was a good, I don't know how many stories high. It was high. And they'd be going into this pool. Yeah, jumping off. It was, I mean, it would mess with my mind. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's
there
being
was a
able
lot of
to,
rocks around it. It was you don't jump just right. This could be a catastrophe. Yeah.
yeah, you can't just horse around, like push each
Yeah.
other off and stuff like
And
that.
yeah, doing all sorts of wild things. Yeah. And it was out there, definitely out there. And we had our share of like silly mishaps, chip teeth, and yeah, I got knocked out once
Just
way out there,
walking.
just walking. Yeah, no slipping in the rocks and in the in the flowing newly snow creek. Lost my Daniel Boone status right then and there. Yeah, heard voices, the most beautiful voices. It was like, oh God, I can hear them too. I better get back. Like, you guys released me. I need to go back. Yeah, need to be with them. I don't want them calling somebody, park ranger.
Yeah,
Oh, So that one, I have to tell you, that one was a real magical experience. So we were with a famous actress. We were hiking, and it was fine, but you know, we just thought, oh, we maybe need to turn around now. I run the hike, and it was just going a little bit too fast across, you know, moss covered rocks, and slipped and boom, bam, you know. So, so we had one backpack of water, and the other backpack had my keys and the clicker in my car, and also had, gosh, I don't know. Oh, my camera, my 35mm camera. Anyway, Scott's coming back across the creek. It's a big creek. It's not just little, it's big. And it is the raging snow melt is coming off. And so, so he drops one of the backpacks coming across the rocks. And guess what it is? It's not the backpack of water. It's my keys. And we don't know that yet because the backpacks look similar. Anyway, all I said was, because I had this experience, is I need an angel and I need an angel now. I say this. And out comes out of the woods this Mr. Brawny man with a flannel shirt and everything, dives into the, you know, huge creek and gets the backpack and swims over and gives it to me. And then he was gone. He was there and gone.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Brawny man. I asked for an angel and I asked for an angel now. And bam, here comes this guy. So, I mean, it was just hysterical because there wasn't any people around. But
No, I mean, and he wasn't like around like either. Like it wasn't like we knew that he was there. It's just he just showed up.
He just came out of the woods.
And you know, didn't hesitate to dive in and grab the backpack. And it did take a
beautiful experience.
A little bit of time to dry out the key.
The key was really bad. We had to dry out the key. Yeah, because it kept, gosh, going off in the woods, going off. But you know, I mean, I just rested for a few days. Everything was fine.
Would you consider that to be kind of a positive, like self-talk, like in a moment of crisis like that, where instead of like falling prey to anxiety, fear, you know, where it's like you put it out there, it's like I need help, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To
instead of maybe warding off help. That's a good observation right there when we're talking about this subject. Yeah, because usually I'm pretty what people call Pollyanna-ish. So, you know, I'm usually on the upbeat even when I'm, you know, in a situation like that. Because usually I'm not in situations like that. But maybe I needed the experience of an angel right then and there. And to know it happened.
Yeah.
In the strangest, most remote places.
Yeah, you know, it's there are times too when we're called upon to, you know, just be that person too. I know that you know, our mom is that person because she's been a nurse and all that. It's like we've been up in these remote places in Japan where, you know, it's like there's just a few people there, but there's not a lot of access to any kind of like medical help and all, and where people have tripped and fallen and hurt themselves, and you know, she's been someone to like give assistance and and all that, and it's like where most of us would just go,
it never failed.
Yeah.
I was up once with Mom. We were way in the back. It took 8 hours to drive on a dirt road back, and we went back into McKinley, which is Mount Denali, and we went way back into the park, and sure enough, there's somebody way back there that needs something, and of course Mom's right there. It's the elevation. It's probably, a lot of dust, a lot of no food, no water. Yeah, it was just, people get out of their elements a little. No McDonald's anywhere near.
Yeah. So do you think there's a like like various levels of like what a person is moving towards in their life, whether it's just kind of like their people will, if they're going to the grocery store, they'll call out for their parking angel to like find a parking
Well,
spot for them.
I don't really like the parking angel thing.
What?
Just let you know, no parking angels. Yeah, I was at a seminar years and years ago.
Mhm.
I mean, years ago in San Diego. And I remember this, I was talking to everybody about their spirit guide because, we were going to do automatic writing. And I was giving them the little pep talk about it, about when you need your spirit guide. Your spirit guide isn't about parking. They aren't. They are when you're in dire need. And so it's not really calling your spirit guide. It's calling the angels, which can be totem animals, mythical creatures, shaman, priests, saints, monks, archangels, angels. This is who you call. They are the helpers of the earth. And we don't really think of them as the helpers of the earth, but they are. If you ask, they come. So the thing is the parking angel thing. I think maybe you need the exercise. Are you a person who sits around a lot? Maybe you need to, walk a little bit more, because progressive movement is what keeps us young. It's an odd thing. We don't need to go out for speed. I love speed on horses and stuff, but it's not about speed. It's about progressive movement. If you are sitting every day behind a desk, you need to walk at least an hour a day. It is very important that we get up and we get out. It is important. Yeah, because it keeps your circulation going, your body, your heart, and its strength. So when you are sick, you're strong enough to fight it off.
Do you think that the other side can get burnt out on like
I think they stop listening. I think your spirit guide will only be there for you that long, because it's hard to get to them anyway. I talk about it with my students and stuff. Abraham's a good example, and Esther Hicks. She brings, they come to her. When she's speaking, it's all about Esther. It's all about, her experiences. They use her as an example. She gives great, amazing advice. And so does Abraham, or Abraham gives some great, amazing advice. And when I'm speaking to, and I've, been in this business for a very long time too, and do anything with my spirit guide, is I have to go deep, deep, deep and go to them. So whenever I'm channeling Abenda, it's not like my body, she can move my body very much, because it's a heavy gravity.
Mhm.
And so it's a little different than, my going to her. So I knew the pathway. I'd had those near-death experiences. I know where to go. So, it's going to her. I know where to go to get that information. But is she coming down here? Oh, no. And she has given me messages before, where it's been danger messages. So we were going, and Jason was in the car too. Jason, my brother Scott, and Willie was with us, my son Willie. And so we were going to Northern California because our father was having a medical emergency. And so he'd been just admitted in the hospital. So we hopped in the car, and we had to come in kind of various areas of California. Southern California, and we hopped it into my Bronco. At the time I had a Bronco, but Willie wanted to drive. And it was like, okay, he can drive, but it was a little rainy, and it was like, yeah. Anyway, all of a sudden, over the Beatles, we're singing at the top of our lungs, the Beatles, and Jason and I are in the back seat, and all I can hear in my head is my spirit guide, Abenda, saying, "Have Willie pull off." And I had just let him drive maybe a half an hour before, and I said, "Willie, over the side." I mean, he's 16. Over the side. You have to get off the side of the road. Take the next exit. And he's like, "What?" He's giving me grief about it. I said, "Go up to get off." And so he did. And so, because I had heard my spirit guide Abenda going off in my head that, he has to pull over. He has to pull over now. You got to get off the freeway. So we waited 5 minutes, say 5-10 minutes, somewhere in there. I've made them wait. And it was a rainy day, in California. I said, "Okay, you're gonna have to wait." My spirit guide, she said that there was a problem. We have to wait. We go down the ramp, and we're just a little bit further. And the semi that was traveling right next to us was clear across the freeway. It had wrecked clear across the freeway. So we would have been in that. So we missed it completely. But that's when you want to use your spirit guide to listen, to so that you get the messages. Yeah. But and so therefore, I think that when you're looking for parking lot spaces, it's too trite, way too trite. You have to learn to maneuver this Earth's surface. And that's why a lot of people kind of are not real excited about, past lives where you don't have any responsibility for this life, or, you blame it on karma, you blame it on that you had a something happen, in a past life, that sort of thing. To whereas that's not the case, though. The case is that if you're being tested again, okay, how are you going to handle it? This is the test. How do you handle it? Yeah. You're going to let it go? Are you going to, be, a lot of it, because people enrage other people for, and it's not their business. A lot of times people get into a lot of things that they didn't ever need to be there. So that's the bottom line, is just how do we handle these things, and how do we self-talk? Like, we don't allow ourselves to be in that crazy state. We were talking about it, somebody this morning, my sister and I, that used to be just an incredible person. She was wonderful, talented, wonderful job. She just had the greatest job. And she got divorced. And instead of just championing herself, she went through the cracks. She has just gone through the cracks. And it's been horrible to watch. Horrible. What she's done to her children, what she's done to herself. It's horrible to watch. All because, she obviously didn't have any self-esteem. She's not talking herself up. I mean, she really is a wonderful person deep down. She's not the same person we ever used to know, but it's not, and she's not somebody who's interested in my work at all to really bring her back. It's a shame, but she's not. She definitely has had access and knows that what I do, but she's not, people to themselves. So it starts with self-talk, positive self-talk.
Yeah, it's like laying a foundation. It's like setting a stage within ourselves, where it's like we see our value. and
Mm.
and we look to build that, and
Yeah.
to create. It's like that foundation within. That's the what we look to express outside of ourself, that helps solidify, um, who it is that we are in the world. Our actions speak incredibly loud. It's
Yeah.
again, it's integrative. It's like we need both our inner self as well as the self that's projected out into the world. This is the more complete picture, but it starts with recognizing our value as a spiritual being, as a being that is eternal. Our soul energy is eternal energy, and that's our most prized possession. And if we lose that, then we have to spend a lot of years to reclaim that.
Mhm.
I don't think someone is completely lost. I think that they can, slowly, surely kind of make their way back to themselves. But do we have to? If we recognize it, if we see it, do we have to sabotage ourselves so that we can rebuild ourselves? It's if we see our value, and where we give ourselves, uh that, I would call it like a grace, or where we just see that we're on an upward trajectory, that we can do better, we can improve ourselves. Sometimes we fall short of our own expectations, our own goals, but it's like where we keep at it. It's a- and something about enjoying the process too, where it's not a drudgery. We don't make it like uh, a thing of, oh, I have to do this, I have to. It's like you.
Well, I think you're a good example. I think you're a really good example from the standpoint of the Japanese sessions.
Mhm.
You could have said no right away because you had to you know get yourself all psyched up to actually promote yourself enough to with them. They were interviewing you, so you had to that was a big thing. And then and then they chose you, that whoever they are, they chose you. And then you had to have an interpreter. So I mean, it became, this has become a big thing, and Jason just went ahead and did it because it's fun. Now you probably making friends, and your interpreter is fantastic, and you're getting a synergy together, and it's all like a blast. But that's very daunting at first, to whereas a lot of people wouldn't have wanted to do that.
Yeah, it can be, and what's at the core of it is a desire to be of service. That's at the core of it. When you know the core of your own being,
Hmm.
then that is what you can just use as a springboard for all of the things that you do. And I'm a big fan of saying yes to an opportunity and just figuring out the details of it as you go.
Right.
Where it's
Right.
it's like you don't have to know all of the steps involved to be able to say, oh yes, I can do that. It's just like,
I
well,
find that a lot with who I work with and coach, is
mhm,
that all of a sudden, well, yeah, all of a sudden they have already given them so many themselves so many no's, they can't say yes to anything because oh, it's going to cost. I mean, somebody told me the other day something, it's going to cost too much money to just, and it was like, hello, we're in the age of the internet. It's like, wrestle that beast within. Let's go. Yeah.
yeah, it, growth is where there's actual, like you have to let go of the restrictions within yourself. And if that's how you can convert that to a positive self-talk too, where you open yourself up. You tell yourself, I'm open to new opportunities coming my way. And you start that process of freeing yourself to where so you don't have to just lock in all of the details before you start something, or if it's like try to figure out the value of an experience before you've had the experience. Sometimes you discover it as you're moving through it and saying, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And one thing leads to another, to
Mhm.
another, to another. Success is not just one level.
Yeah.
It's a continuation of many levels. And sometimes I'm making like it's always an up thing. Sometimes it's just a cycle,
Yeah.
a wheel of success too, where you're in the flow of it, and you're going with it, and you don't like just stop that flow, because it's like, oh, I'm there, I've attained what I wanted to attain, that's it, I'm done. um, you keep, you can keep adding. That circle can get bigger, right? It can
Mhm.
get wider, more expansive. And that's a way of just stretching, growing. That's what this life is about.
Yes. Yes. And not, and really it's not feeding you're an animus and anima, not feeding kind of the outer beast. You're just relaxing. It's all about conditioning, being in that moderation of things. Yeah. Resting and knowing when to go forward and going
Yeah,
forward.
I would say, if there's something that like a phrase, or something that I tell myself, because I will do an evening candle ritual there, where it's like all that's the time that I will ask for something. There's always gratitude involved,
Mhm.
because it's like the day has brought um, opportunities to be of service, but also to enjoy life.
Mhm.
And so there's gratitude. And then if I'm asking for something for myself or for someone else, it's one of the things that I ask for when it comes to opportunities is that it's something where I'm able to activate my core in it, but I don't have to be um, like in control of where the source comes from. It's like, I'm open for the universe to surprise me too, like just and I've gotten that a lot, where interesting source will say, hey, do you want to be a guest on this podcast, or like have this kind of opportunity show up. It's like, God, can I do that? Yeah, why not?
Right. Oh gosh, yeah, I was terrified of the radio years ago. Terrified. Look at me now, 12 years in, my own show.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. It's sometimes those things that we fear the most are those directions
They're
that we
waiting
need
there. Blossom you.
to
Yeah.
yeah, and does it happen overnight? No, right? But if you take the steps towards it, and you start to blossom, right?
Yeah.
It's like in this day and age when everything is instant, instant. um some things just can take a little bit of time, but
Yep.
take those steps. And along the way, it's like,
Yep.
check in with yourself, give yourself reassurance, give yourself a pat on the back, saying, you know what, may not be perfect, but it's progress. So
Right.
good job, and keep going.
Mhm.
Don't just stop there and say, okay, that's it, I'm done. you know.
Well,
keep
that's just
going.
it, the progress, you know, that's why walking is important, meditation is important. You know, keeping your mind going is very important. You know, that is too. You know, can't not study something anymore. When you're learning new things, you're interesting to talk to. Now, if you're perpetually always learning something and it's very diverse, it's hard. You know, that's a hard thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, because you become kind of a jack of all trades, and then you don't become a master at anything. But they used to give me a hard time. I used to go on this radio show. I don't remember what it was called, but they had like 4 or 5 people on it that were kind of psychics and different practitioners. And they would say, how can you be like an esoteric astrologer, because I'm an Eastern and Western astrologer. And I'm a, renowned hypnotherapist. I'm a renowned psychic. I've been nominated for Grammys for my, meditations and, in spoken word, like the comedians, I'm in that category, the talking category. And, there is so many things that, palmistry, handwriting analysis, but I was really into the divination tarot. I was into the divination systems. I wanted to know. It was easy for me. It was like, as sports are for some people, or different modalities are for different people. That's easy. So it became like, like riding a bike for me. And I just kept going with it.
And at the core of
But
it,
yeah, the
I
core of it.
say at the core of all of that is, that the psychic sciences. It's about looking to help yourself, looking to help others.
Yeah, I find it fascinating to try to kind of, fit the pieces together where psychology and esoteric knowledge mix to whereas, where are we going and why are we going there? The quantum leap. Yeah. And it's fun. I find the earth plain great fun that way.
Looks like we're wrapping up this
Yeah.
episode here.
JasonDMcKean.com. Spell
Jason
it out.
D. McKean, McKean.com, and also on Facebook, Jason D. McKean, and on Amazon, my book, The Magic Channel Tarot Reading with the Tarot Wizard.
Yes, there you go. And I am Tara Sutphen, and my Instagram is Tara Insight, and it's Tara_Insight actually, and my websites are tarainsight.com. Yeah, and I have 2 Facebook pages because my one Facebook page was filled in 2009, so I added another one. Anyway.
Wonderful. So thank you, Tara.
Yes. Blessings, everybody. Lots of love. Glad the new moon.
Dr. Joe here for
Say nice
C60
things.
Complete.